So, and everything of the living and of the unliving and of the non-living. Alright, this video is going to be a part of my series called Grym Arkayx, talking about necromancy topics and of necromancy topics and thereof the byproducts of necromancy topics. Alright, the overall title of the video, Grym Arkayx, what is necromancy? My definition blatantly of what necromancy is would be the use of connectors and receivers between the realms of the living and the realms of the deceased and everything between those realms. Where it originally come from, or where it originally came from. Necromancy, I'm gonna talk about the elements of necromancy rather than the whole concept of what you think necromancy is, what necromancy explains, and what necromancy symbolizes rather than the term of necromancy. So where it originally came from is an energy signature, an energy source, to be correct. And it's a frequency that's not based or biased on nationality. So I'm not going to give you a place in the world where you can find it at. It's more so energy, like the wind floating around. So when you say something is in the air that's making people do crazy things, it's similar to that, or equivalent to that. Necromancy is a bridge between the realm of the dead and the realm of the living, connection between the realms of the high vibrational dead beings to the low vibrational dead beings. As in a religious text, like Christianity, you have heaven, you have hell, but you have things that connect both of them together for them to be able to transport between each other. So you have someone or something in heaven that descends down into the realm of the living, or the realm of the dead, the realm of the spirit, the realm of the astral world, astral plane, and it descends into the darker aspects like hell, stuff like that. So hell and heaven is always going to be connected. Not to use the terminology of hell and heaven, because that's not what we're talking about. That's just an example. Necromancy is the signature of the repeating patterns of X. The letter X, well, the glyph, the symbol of X. This X is found in nature as a fractal sign, but also this fractal sign, when it keeps on going in each direction as a vector, it overallly will intersect, making a shape that the mind cannot imagine or process throughout the brain. It's something like a quilt or a spider web. Necromancy, the terminology, is the study of antimatter, aka death essence, the images you see when you're in the dark or when your eyes are closed, the images that appear in the absence of white light and bright lights. So anytime you close your eyes, you see another world, whether it's pixelated or orchestrated into the image that makes sense to you. But overall, the back of your eyelids is the back of your eyelids. You can't see the back of your head without a mirror. So that's a whole different set of principles and different set of law of existences and law of physics. Necromancy is the ability to utilize these images and energy in order to maneuver through the existing body through this type of world, as that version of you cannot see this world of the living. Like I just said before, when you're birthed, you give birth to your life and your death, your pain, your chaos. You give birth to the parallel universes of yourself, the alternative universes of yourself, ultimately being born into a crystal that we call world, or the living, or existence, or something like that. When you die, you take all of them with you and kind of connect as one being, you unite. But there's always a thin line that separates the consciousness between each one. You're not conscious of your death being. You're not conscious of your alternative parallel universe beings, even though you have a brain to think. You have a mind, you have a consciousness, but this universal consciousness is compartmentalized based on what you're currently experiencing right now. So that way it's not a short circuit in a sense. It's more of a splitter, like electricity. As a human being, we are electric beings before we are water-based beings. So we have a smokeless and heatless flame that ignites us, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. As a necromancer, or one who studies necromancy, you will learn that everything is not directly you. There's an alternative version of you. There's a thin line separating the direct you from the alternatives, parallel, present, future, external, internal, etc. Meaning you have a you outside of yourself, outside of this flesh body. You have someone or something else representing who you are externally, but you have an internal you that's representing you. Like I said before, your mind, your feelings, that's still you. Your soul, your spirit, that's internal you. Alternative you might be the person that you're standing next to, your soulmate, whatever, the parallel universe, something that goes against you. They call it twin flame or something like that. Being in this realm of reality that we call life, in this world, everything's kind of interdimensional, interconnected through transcendence and descendance. They say it's many states of matter. So are you really consciousness of every state of matter that you currently occupy? Meaning, we in this flesh is more of a solid being. So are you aware of your liquid being? Are you aware of your gaseous state, aka phantom, aka your ghost, aka apparition or something like that? Are you aware of these things? This is more so sorcery and witchcraft. To be in knowledge of those, necromancy's main target is the gaseous states, aka your soul, the flesh, the solid states, the plasmatic states, the etheric states, stuff like that. When necromancy is to be able to have a higher power and know how to connect through the higher power, to utilize the gifts and blessings and stuff like that of specifically the dead, the undead, and the living. So I can't really say necromancy is all about the dead and like a video game. That's all make-believe stuff, because it takes something living to give life to the things that are not living. Okay, that's the only way something that's not living can be birthed into the realm of the living. It's through the living body. So you have a lot of people believe in demonology and Christian stuff like that, or they more so scientific, the way the dead occupies a living body. So we could be spirits occupying a body, or we can be a body that occupies a spirit, depending on how you want to look at it. Depending on how you look at it will ultimately change how you gain abilities and how you express your abilities, aka how you turn out to be as a necromancer and what you want to do. It controls you. Your belief is your downfall, and it controls your uprising at the same time. So everything in this world is a double-edged sword. There's always stuff to interchange. There's always good and the bad and the good. That's why we as necromancers don't believe in duality. It's all in the same. When you pick a side and you believe in duality, you ultimately become ignorant to the other side. You purposely lose consciousness. You purposely take away consciousness from the other side. And we're not about taking away consciousness. We want to be conscious of these things that we're unconscious of, or we want to be unconscious of the things that we currently are conscious of. And that's why a lot of necromancers, they tend to start becoming depressed, depending on what side they on, depending on what type of belief they have, and they want to contemplate suicide. They don't actually attempt suicide or successful at suicide. because it's a lot of things that are dead in the dead world, in the realm of the dead, that we as living people don't experience and we don't have. So a lot of people want to be there rather than here. But we exist in both states simultaneously, consecutively. With that being said, that was just the general message I wanted to give to y'all, instill some new knowledge, new ways of thinking about something they call a dark art. It's not called a dark art because it's bad. It's more so because it's unconscious. It plays a part in the subconscious and the conscious realms of reality. It's only conscious we spread light on it. Not everything needs light on it, if that makes sense. Some things can only grow in the dark and are killed by the light. So keep what's in the dark, and what needs to be in the light, in the light. Here my skulls representing what I'm talking about. Usually I keep them in the basement, but this time they need to be extracted and gain some new energy, because over the past few weeks I became a new person. When I fell asleep, I woke up feeling different. I had different mind, I had different feelings. So I know whatever his soul is occupying his body is occupying his body for a reason why the last spirit that inhabited his body didn't. But we still have the same purpose, the same goals. It's just like passing the baton, you know. You run a lap and pass the baton, that's all it is. That's the reason why I can remember things. But I'm a new person with the same memories. That's the last thing, or last spirit that had occupied me. This is how the spirit grows in the physical form. Yeah, and that's about it. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next video.